Fine. So about 15 hours. Sit over next to Will.
RJ, can you hear me?
Oh,
RJ just got to the Bell Water Gap, so he won't be here tonight.
Was taking a motorcycle trip from Orlando to here over the past.
It's a bold move on a bike that goes 60.
Wow. He also did the same trip from Pittsburgh to Orlando.
Miles on that
past,
thing.
past week.
Well, that is not my idea of a good time.
Wow. Read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and then you'll want to.
And I've had 2 motorcycles, but I'm not be doing that.
We're ready to do the thing, though, right? You guys all ready?
Ready? Yeah.
Good. Will, you good?
Oh, yeah.
Good evening, everybody. This is Seth Engelborg, Chair of the Nantucket Conservation Commission. We're meeting today on Thursday, November 20th at 5 p.m. in a hybrid fashion with some commissioners and attendees physically present in the meeting trailer room A and others on Zoom. The first thing that we need to do today is establish a quorum of members. So commissioners, when you hear your name, please respond in the affirmative. Go around the table, I guess. John Schaefer.
Here.
Tim Brand.
Here.
Mike Mazzarelli.
Here.
Bill Pendowski.
Here.
Linda Williams.
Here.
And I am here. The 6 commissioners, which is plenty for a quorum. The next thing we'll do is read the continuances. Today's are as follows. Under public hearing, notice of intent, section A, no waiver required. In Maloney at 15 Old North Wharf, continued till December 4th. Under section B, notice of intent waiver required. Wisconsin Beach Preservation Fund, 59 through 83 Baxter Road, SC 48 3759, continued till December 4th. Also, Robert F. Greenhill Revocable Trust, 16 Hoyks Hollow Road, SC 48 3917, continued till December 4th. And I believe that's it for today. So with those continuances, commissioners, any other amendments to the agenda? Okay, if not, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We do need to do a roll call vote. John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Brand,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Pendowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg, aye. That carries unanimously. The next item on our agenda is public comment for items not being heard on today's agenda. We'll be using the select board's established procedures for public comment, limiting commenters to 3 minutes or less and not engaging in deliberation, only taking comments for future discussion. At this point, does anybody physically present in the room wish to comment? If so, approach the table and you'll be recognized. Seeing not, does anybody on Zoom wish to comment? If so, raise your hand virtually and you'll be recognized. Seeing not, we will conclude and we'll move on to the public hearing. We'll start with notice of intent, section A, no notice of intent, no waiver required. We do these as a block if we're able. So we have 2, which are at Coda LLC at 42 Shimmer Pond Road and Gilby at 54R Union Street. Commissioners, any interest in opening either of those?
No.
Members of the public, any interest in opening either of those? Do we have everything we need to close those applications?
Yes, we do. I just reached to unmute my microphone. Which we don't have. Yeah.
We'll take the lack of comments as an assumption that the project representatives would like to close the applications. And we will take a motion to close those two applications.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Thank you both. By roll call vote. We will start with John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Brand,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli, Bill Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Steph Dingelberg, aye. Those, that carries unanimously, and those are both closed. All right, we'll now move on to section B, notice of intent waiver required. And we'll begin with Ripley, 92 Washington Street, SC 483927. Represented by Jack Vaccaro and others along. Mr. Vaccaro, if you could start, and then if each other person could recognize or introduce themselves for the record, that would be great.
Sure. Is there a microphone or is this?
If you sit or stand, the meeting owl will catch you, so. If you want to put the thing up on the easel, it should be able to catch you from there. I think you can.
I'll be your card.
Handle this all
Tell me
around.
what you want. This one first? That one, yes. Thanks, Tom.
I will do my best to copy whatever you guys are pointing at.
Okay. Hopefully there'll be a number in the lower right-hand corner there that'll help you.
Oh,
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Jack Vaccaro of Epsilon Associates. With me this evening are the owner, Thomas Rip, an applicant, and Dan Bailey of the firm Pierce Atwell. We're also expecting to be joined by the landscape architect who's prepared the landscape plan for the project. She's on her way. I'm going to go ahead initially turn this over to Dan so that he can address some of the issues that he raised in his letter that was submitted last week.
Mr. Bailey, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nice to be here in person. It's been a long time. And I do have to say I like Zoom, but it's always nice to be here too. As Jack mentioned, you have a letter from me, November 13th. Just want to quickly kind of hit on some of the points that I raised in that letter. I think the big thing is, as the commission knows, this project requires a waiver because the proposed structure will be within 50 feet of the coastal bank. The current structure is with the deck probably 25, 26 feet from the coastal bank. The proposed structure will be about 41 feet away. So it's being moved, the structure is being moved a considerable distance away. And Jack will get into more of the technical details. At the last commission hearing, there was a lot of discussion about how the proposal didn't meet the waiver request standard because an alternative design has previously been approved by the commission. What I'd like to remind the commission of, though I'm sure you know, is that there are 4 or 5 different ways that you can approve a waiver. You have authority to approve a waiver. And in addition to the no acceptable alternative, there's also a test that says you can approve a waiver if the long-term net benefit improvement of the resource area is beneficial and provided there are no adverse effects or any adverse effects are minimized. So I think what we're most interested in advocating about, I'm not going to waive the argument about no alternatives, and I have a footnote in the letter that discusses that, but what we're most interested in demonstrating to the commission here tonight is that the long-term net benefit here is truly beneficial to the environment, not just because the house is being moved back, but you'll see we've developed the plans further since the last meeting. We're now capturing all the stormwater. We've enhanced the landscaping, we've reduced the impervious surface. So that's what I have. I'm happy to take questions, or I think probably a better idea to let Jack speak to the technical aspects of this.
Does anybody have questions for Mr. Bailey at this point?
Do you know?
Jack, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, so as Dan says, we've taken the opportunity since our last meeting with the commission to look at the project in terms of how it actually, how we can demonstrate that there are long-term net benefits, certainly over the existing conditions out there. As Dan mentioned, the structure is moving back from the water from about 25 feet, 26 feet to 41 feet. Also, obviously, the structure is being raised up on piers 2 feet above base flood elevation, which of course, with the existing structure, it's at grade. So we are getting this up and out of the flood zone. Those are obvious points. But one thing we heard from the commission at our last meeting was there was concern about roof runoff and how the increased size of the structure would result in increased amount of runoff from the roofs that would eventually make its way out to the harbor. So the project team, led by the applicant, Mr. Ripley, looked at the possibility of capturing all of the roof runoff and bringing it into the existing town's stormwater sewer system out on Washington Street Extension, which I assume most of you are familiar with that, how that system works, how it's a pretty elaborate treatment works that takes place. I'm not able to describe that system to you. I didn't have any involvement in that. But Leo Asadorian has been in touch with the DPW, and they've indicated to him that they're open to the concept of all of this roof drainage being directed to that system. The heavy blue outlines that you see here reflect the roof area, right? So some of these roof areas are over open areas, decks, porches. There's a roof hanger, overhang on the garage, for instance. And the idea of what we're trying to show here is that all of that roof area is in fact being captured and directed into this existing stormwater system. The only new structure on the property that won't be receiving the stormwater is the shed, which is about 202 square feet. So about 96%, 94%, almost 95% of the available roof area is being directed into the storm sewer. So I feel we've addressed the concern about increased roof runoff, and I hope the commission agrees. The other important consideration here is I'm going to bring up slide 7 now, Will. We also took a look at the increase of structure within 75 feet of the bulkhead. And we made a significant upward adjustment in the total amount of mitigation plantings that would be provided on site. So you can see the green shaded areas here represent the new mitigation areas within 75 feet. Totals a little over 1,000 square feet of area, which is significantly more than's out there now, and also what was previously provided for the project that was permitted by the Conservation Commission. So that also is a key tweaking of the design since you last saw it. I want to point out that the calculation for the mitigation plantings is only based on those contiguous plantings, areas that are bordering on the resource areas and are contiguous. It doesn't claim any credit for the additional plantings along the foundation. Another important aspect to this project is reduction in impervious areas. The landscape designer, Lynn, has looked at this and has made a very inclusive calculation as to what exactly constitutes impervious surfaces on the site. You can see those are all of the magenta shaded areas, all of these stones, the driveway, bluestone pavers. cobblestones as well. Yeah, every hardscape surface on the site has been calculated out here. And it actually is a reduction in the amount of impervious surface, about 80 square feet reduction, but a reduction nonetheless. So these are all, we feel, important considerations that we feel are important elements of the project that should be given careful consideration by the Conservation Commission as evidence that the project will in fact provide a net benefit over really both the existing and previously permitted conditions. So I'd like to just stop there, and we're here to answer any questions you might have either about the landscape design or other elements of the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to add that the landscaping design was approved earlier this week or late last week by the HDC.
Gotcha. Nice. Would you like to add anything?
I'm Lynn Giesica, landscape architect with Studio 2112. I'm here to answer any questions. I think the big thing about the plant material is it's native. It's all salt tolerant. It provides, I think the biggest move that we're making with that plant palette is to provide erosion control and habitat. And the species that were chosen are very effective at that. And I think, that contiguous area that you see in green, that's really where those calculations come from. But at the same time, even the foundation plantings that we're putting on this side of the house are native species. So they're not in that calculation, but they're still providing wonderful habitat benefit to that side of the property.
Thank you, Lynn. Mr. Ripley, would you like to add anything?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
I do have a comment.
Hold on, Joe, 1 second. We're gonna go to John and then we'll take you next.
How are you gonna capture all the rainwater? What system are you gonna use? The roof runoff,
Yeah, it'll be gutters and
all
downspouts.
connected to one
Yes,
central line all the way around the house?
yeah, I can bring up the plan again if you'd like to see, but it's basically collecting all of the points of the various. Yeah,
I'll grab that too. Scroll.
So it's like a at grade footing drain, it's gonna catch everything?
And it's gonna go into the stormwater
The
system.
red piping,
Right.
the red dash lines that you see.
Just on that vein too, not that I don't believe you, but when you say the DPW is open to that, I think if we were gonna permit this, we would apply conditions saying that there needs to be an approved plan from the DPW prior to the construction, because open to it versus actually happening with
yeah.
public-private interactions is a little bit different.
Yeah,
Sometimes
that's-
they're open to it until they're not, or
Yeah, I would-
they're open to it until it costs too much, or,
I
So
hope,
we
I hope,
would add those
Mr.
conditions.
Chairman, that we would have had something in writing for you to present this
that's
evening.
okay, no worries.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Another question.
Hold on,
Oh, sorry.
we're gonna go to
Okay.
Joe and then we go to you. Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, my comment is this set of plans or drawings is the best that I've seen in over 3 years on the commission. And I would also include my years much earlier when I was a professional engineer in New York State. This stuff is easy to understand when it's laid out the way it's laid out with the color scheme, the amount of detail in terms of distances. It's really a great job.
We'll pass along your compliments to everybody involved. Tim, go
Yeah,
ahead.
just the rest of the yard will be grass.
There is, hold on. If you don't mind going to that, I think it's 7. I can kind of talk through. We're working on the rest of there's not a lot, right, of the rest of the property, but what you see in here is grass. So there is a grass area, just so they do maintain some lawn for usable space at the front. Grass wraps to the back. There will be hydrangea and things. There's a little more Nantucket, but not quite the native side on. It's kind of like front side, back side. So we have a lot of planting out in this area, but most of the lawn space is really in that usable space on this side and a little bit flanking. But mostly around here, it's plant material, whether it's along those lines.
Great, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Linda, go ahead.
I think I did Mullen back in. I watched the other meeting, so I'm on back on. But I think the crux of the matter is, does it need waivers or does it not need waivers? It needs waivers. You got to do the alternative. It does not need waivers because it's a net benefit. I'm in the net benefit category here. So I just want
Yeah.
to put that on the table because it's coming up, it's coming back. They're dealing with the drainage issue, the runoff issue. I'm satisfied with that part of it.
Thank you. I think there's a unilateral understanding that, I guess, differences of opinion about which waivers or if waivers are applicable, but both the representatives of the project and this commission understand that it wouldn't meet the performance standards without some of the applies.
So I'll just ask
Go ahead.
Mr. Bailey, so you're saying that the capturing the runoff, the additional plantings and moving the house further from the resource constitutes a net benefit,
Yes,
which qualifies for that waiver.
yes, and the reduction in impervious surface.
Right,
Yeah.
all of those.
All of those collectively, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, Mr. Engelborg will probably tell me I shouldn't say that. Well, he'll let me say it, but he'll also disagree. But, and that's fine. We have, I don't think we ever have one of these meetings, but we don't get into this a little bit. But, you know, the commission, a few years ago approved a lot of reconstructions over on Easton Street. And pretty much all of those structures required waivers. Now it was on your old regs, but the recipe there typically for getting a net benefit waiver was to move the house back, to increase the native vegetation, to try and reduce impervious surfaces, to raise the elevation above flood, and to put in the breakaway panels. And so we had done all that, and actually very few, if any, of those I don't know captured rainwater. But this was an easy enough thing to do here, and I think that's a big one.
Couple of them definitely did, and I don't even
Well,
necessarily.
you sat on all of them, I did.
I don't even necessarily disagree. I think the formula for net benefit is, well, I disagree that there's a formula for net benefit because each project has to be viewed on the basis of its specific details and the intricacies of the site. But, it's up to us to decide. Obviously that these things, it's in singularity, are benefits. It's up to us to decide if in totality, those benefits outweigh the impacts that are also being proposed, because when we apply the long-term net benefit waiver, it's actually looking at all resource areas on site and all protected interests of those resource areas. So you can't just say, I'm improving the coastal bank, or I'm improving the land subject to coastal storm flowage, or I'm improving the coastal beach, but sacrificing the interests of those other resource areas. It needs to collectively have more benefit than cost. So it's up to us to decide if we believe that this is true in the site. But there's just a couple of things to think about, because Mr. Bailey did reference one of these, but the regulations have changed. And some things that are in this plan are not only considered impervious surface, but actually considered structure in our plan now. So like the patios, that's structure according to our January 1st, 2025 regulations. And I'm not saying that that definitely disqualifies them from being in that benefit, but we have to go through and think, it is a little bit different than some of these projects that Mr. Bailey was referencing. Yes, go ahead.
I keep going back to the project that we previously approved, for the other owner.
Mhm.
And it seems to me this project is better than the one that we approved before. So,
In many ways, yes.
yeah, so I mean, that carries a lot of weight with me.
Thank you, John. Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the
patios or the step stones, I assume they're just gonna be set on sand or stone
Dry
dust.
laid, yeah.
Dry laid, thank you. So I understand what you're saying, but I don't see that as a huge impact to the area. If anything, some of those stones could completely float away in a in a heavy flood situation. But overall, just want to thank everybody for addressing what the commission had and bringing this back. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the impact would be to the performance standard and then subject coastal storm flowage about the requirement that the property absorbs and contains the flood water on site. So, I mean, obviously they're doing that with the roof runoff. Well, not exactly on site. They're doing it just off site, but I mean, it's close enough. You know, my concern whenever, and again, they're not trying to meet the performance standards, they're trying to apply for a waiver. But my concern always with projects is that we do need to be diligent about saying these things that are benefits, like clearly the raising of the house is a benefit. The adding of the native species is a benefit. I'm not necessarily convinced about the reduction in the impervious area. I'm not saying your calculation is wrong, but I've looked at some other calculations. I think they could be done in a different way, and that it's actually going to be an increase in structural area. So that one doesn't seem as as convincing to me, but it's up to us to decide. So I made my points, commissioners have made their points. I think at this point, we're going to seek public feedback. So if anyone physically present in the room wishes to speak, approach the table. And if not, if anyone on Zoom wishes to speak, raise your hands virtually. Okay, I see none. Commissioners, any final questions or comments?
I
Well,
would say, Seth, I would say the site visit was very well worth it.
Thank you.
Got a whole different appreciation of what's going on after that visit.
I was traveling back to the island yesterday, but I did try to go on my own a couple weeks back, but the property was fenced off. But I think I trust you guys and having a good site visit.
I think that was next door.
Oh, it's next door?
Yep, we were just there and I was like, wait a second.
That was
property.
90, I guess.
Yeah,
Hard to keep everything,
I
hard to keep
totally-
everything on track sometimes. All right, we'll do everything we need to close this application.
yes, we do, Seth.
Jack, would you like to close?
Yes, please.
Is there a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you both. By roll call vote. John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Bird,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Bill Plendowski,
Hi,
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Seth Engelberg, aye. That carries unanimously. This application is closed. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The only team that's been in person and I can't say that.
I would say.
No, it's nice to have people in person.
I will say
It's-
the easel and the physical printed boards are very nostalgic because when I started on the commission and we met in the public safety facility training room upstairs, there's no screen of any type except for the laptops or iPads or phones you brought yourself. And if you wanted to show something to the commission of the public, it was printed. So
A lot of other towns are still doing that.
I always laid the plans out.
Yeah,
on the
laid
table.
out on the table.
Pass them around.
The pointer, that would really.
Oh, laser thing is brilliant.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Folks, super quick note through you, Seth.
Go ahead.
In case anybody notices this, don't panic. It says preparing live stream, but we are streaming. It's done this to me before.
No worries.
Saving you. That's true. Maybe that's only a thing.
Okay,
All good.
so we are done with notices of intent. We have no amended orders of conditions. We'll move to our public meeting. And the first thing that we need to do is orders of conditions. The first will be at Coda LLC, SC 48, 39, 32. We'll send these out and get it up on the screen. Right.
Yeah, it's good. So far, it's good. Sometimes you get some of the line, you know.
Sorry, there were so many windows open that took me a minute. 42 Shimo is our first one.
Yes.
Share that. There's gonna be a faded to update. All right. So this order permits the proposed maintenance and repair of an existing licensed timber pier with float system at 42 Shimo Pond Road within land subject to coastal storm flowage, land under the ocean, coastal bank, and coastal beach. Waiver is not required for this project as proposed. We did have NHESP. Condition 18 and 19, and then 20, sedimentation shall be minimized with best measures in place to contain any sediment. 21, should any of the wooden bulkhead materials be removed or exposed and in need of removal, they shall be tested for PCBs and heavy metals, including methyl mercury, to determine the treatment material in the lumber. In addition, the soil in this area shall also be tested for these same constituents. These test results will be provided to the commission to determine if further action is required. And this is essentially a copy of our last timber pier order.
Yes. Timber piers and piles were built with some nasty stuff.
There's a super fun site near where I grew up that's all creosote. Nasty. Art is raising his hand.
Yes, Mr. Gasparo, do you have a clarification point?
Can't hear him, right?
You're on mute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Clarity only. I believe that the plan of record reference would be November 12th. We had submitted
It's
updated information with our eelgrass survey and part of it. So I think that was our original plan was 9/11. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Art.
Commissioners, any questions, comments, or additions?
Wouldn't know what to add to it.
Is there a motion to approve the order as amended?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. A second.
Thank you both, by roll call vote. John Schaefer.
Aye.
Tim Brand.
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli.
Aye.
Bill Planowski.
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Seth Engelberg, carries unanimously. And now we have Gilby, 54R Union Street. We'll get this one up too.
We didn't open it. It was new this week and we didn't open it.
Oh, okay.
It's quick.
You guys all reviewed it, right, though?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
It better be yes. That was a dad sentence right there. It's better be yes. I am one of those. All right. 54 are Union Street. Let me just get it shared. This order permits the renovation and construction of a garage with dwelling unit at 54R Union Street within land subject to coastal storm flowage. A waiver is not required for the project as proposed. No NHESP. Conditions 18, 19, and then 20, plantings and seedings are to be native species with no cultivars. 21, all lighting in compliance with 102. And 22, no ag chemicals or fertilizer shall be used within commission jurisdiction.
Questions, comments, or additions? Their motion to approve is drafted.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, second,
Roll call. John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Bill Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
aye.
Seth Engelberg, aye, that carries unanimously. And
Thank you.
thank you as well. And
Summer
we are gonna go to the Summer House of Nantucket Realty Trust. 10 and 16 Ocean Avenue, C 38 38 24. Before Will puts it up on the screen. There had been some discussion at the previous meeting about thoughts on this order, so. A positive order has been drafted and a negative order has been drafted as well. It seemed like most people were leaning towards issuing a positive order. Seemed like the main, well, it didn't seem like anybody had any concerns about any of the items in the project other than the tying in the dunes, which is why there was a request for the negative order. My intent is to go through the positive order first. Figure out if we can hash that out and have a vote. If that vote does not pass, we'll vote in the negative order and see if that passes. And go from there, but any commissioners have issue with that strategy?
I'm recused from this, remember?
Yeah, Commissioner Williams is recused.
Procedurally, we don't do that very often, so, but you just answered the question, how we're gonna handle it.
What happens if it passes?
We have to
They
pass
get an
something.
open permit.
Yeah, we have to pass something tonight because we're at the end of the
Period,
period, so you either have to pass a negative order or pass a positive order with what's drafted, or we need to amend it with amendments that are gonna satisfy us to draft, I mean, we have to pass something.
Okay.
So we have 5 commissioners available to sit, which is enough. And Will, can you put the positive order up on the screen?
Wow, that is, hang on. It was supersized. There we go. Oops. Oh, I gotta go back to hit the green button. And then I gotta go back. Yeah, too many steps. There we go. Would you like me to read what we have?
No, I'd like you to give the general overview and then we can talk about the special conditions that were added.
All right. Permit overview. This order permits the proposed relocation of a plastic shed, removal of a portion of deck, and memorialization of site conditions that predated the Wetland Protection Act of 1972, including 8 tables within the coastal dune, fencing, and a patio with bar at 10 and 16 Ocean Avenue, the Summer House, within coastal dune and its associated buffer zones. A waiver is required for this project as proposed. Would you like me to comment on the 8 tables number?
Yeah, let's go to, well, first of all, does anybody have, well, let's show on the screen what the conditions say here. I guess talk about the 8 tables. This isn't, it's in the permit overview.
So the only, real quick with the 8 tables, I got an email from their representatives basically saying 10 was the number that we talked about last meeting. They will accept, I'm just passing this along, by the way, don't shoot the messenger, but they will accept 8 tables in a positive order. And essentially what I'm gathering is if we issue a negative order and it's appealed, and the appeal is successful, then they're going for the 10 tables that was in the original, which I know
Not really relevant.
Yeah. Essentially, though, that's where the 8 number has come from. And I felt that there's probably some, I probably need to explain that since we said 10.
Is that
but
8 4 tops or 8 6 tops?
that's the,
We have
Next
to,
thing.
yeah, talk
so I
about
have
it.
some conditions with blank lines in them
Okay,
for us to talk about.
because that makes a difference. Huh?
Yeah,
Makes it
Sort of.
totally.
or,
When you
I
say
made this
blanket long
I made
tail.
this comment earlier, but it could be eight Viking
Yeah.
meat hall table.
Right.
8 of these would be, you know, take the whole doing.
Right,
But no, we're gonna talk about reasonable conditions in a second, so if you
Yeah.
wanna go through. We have our
Cool.
standard like 18, 19 conditions with the lighting.
Yeah.
And then there's the conditions that are related to the dining and the dunes, so you wanna talk about those?
yep, so starts with 21, the dining in the dunes area shall be clearly demarcated. 22, the number of tables in the dining in the dunes service, I'm gonna say area, shall be limited to a maximum of 8. 23, the number of chairs in the dining in the dunes area shall be limited to a maximum of insert number here. 24, dining in the dunes service shall only be allowed to operate between insert month here and insert month here.
They said that, didn't they?
Yeah, so
June and September.
June, September,
Yeah,
I figured we'll, 25, these are some spitball ideas with Mr. Jeffrey Carlson. 25, the restaurant operator shall educate guests on the ecological importance of a coastal dune, as well as best practices for minimizing disturbance to the dune and its vegetation. The applicant shall provide the commission with a written statement of the plan for educating guests. If a plaque is to be used, the applicant shall submit examples. If the summer house staff are educating guests, an example script shall be provided to the commission.
Put it right on the menu.
Or like,
That's an
affix
easy way to
plaques
do
to the tables, or I think there's multiple ways to skin a cat
it.
there.
Right.
And I would say too, just as a random aside, but I think we'd let them design that as long as the information is,
Yeah.
works for us, but 26, the beach grass surrounding the dining in the dunes area shall be maintained to its current extent at a minimum. If the vegetation starts to retreat from the dining area, it shall be supplemented with American beach grass plugs to prevent further intrusion to the coastal dune. This condition does not allow the applicant to remove beach grass if it has grown beyond the current extent. This condition is specifically to require supplemental plantings where vegetation may be lost. It's wordy, but I didn't want it to be misinterpreted. 27, no fertilizer or ag chemicals.
Go back to 26. What's the, is that
So
grass is lost based on the use of dining in the dunes, or what if it just happens?
basically
Based
to
on-
prevent resource area creep.
Okay.
Cause if and this is just Will's take on the situation, but my intention with that is to minimize or eliminate the possibility of resource area creep, just if, you know, I think
I like it though.
our protected interest is just its activity in the dune. If we can
There's a
couple
theme there
that with.
who determines if it starts to retreat.
Well, we have, we
do
have
that.
the plans
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
on record, so it's
Okay.
delineated to a specific extent. If it is all of a sudden and
But how are we gonna know that? Is it
Well,
by us
we
to
have
go out
the-
and visit it?
yeah, I mean, it's the same as we know anything. We have the inspection
We need
capacity,
monitoring,
we have the monitoring,
which I didn't put on
we
there.
can add monitoring and then we,
What about
you
it?
know.
Maybe we'll put it in there.
Require a report by them.
Let's go eat there.
Yeah, we can require
We have a
a
meeting.
photo report, before and after each dining season, basically. If the dining is gonna start in June and in September, we could require a photo monitoring report to be submitted by May 1st or something like
Good
that,
idea.
and then we could have another one be submitted by October 1st, before and after the season.
Yeah, I don't think that the burden should be on us to have to go out
No.
and inspect it, like, let the applicant report back, that's.
Yeah, we could add the condition for twice annual, photo monitoring.
Was it June and September?
They said June 15th and September 15th is kind of what they said.
I'm just gonna make a couple edits here.
If I remember right from last meeting.
We still have to deal with the number of
Well, they were,
chairs.
they started with 60, so if we go down to 48, that's maximum of 48. That would be 6 per table. So then we wouldn't have the Viking table.
I think it's fine.
Yeah. 48, yeah, I think so.
That makes sense. Mathematically speaking.
Yeah, most of those are gonna be 4 and 5 anyways.
Yeah. So I think if we put in here,
So,
yeah, so if we throw
wouldn't it be better after the season, like in September?
We need it both. We need-
before and
we need-
after, so we'll say before June 15th and
After,
September 15th.
We basically need a condition that says, but a monitor report including photos of the current extent of the dune shall be submitted prior to the dining season and following the dining season. And then we need the reports before the actual date that it starts, so we can assess if anything needs to happen. So I would say May 15th and October 15th would be, 1 month pre and post. That's what we would,
Yeah.
that would give everybody ample time to figure out, oh, there's not a lot of vegetation even prior to the season because there's erosion. They need to plant beach grass before they even open the dining.
Yeah.
Or, their activity just caused an issue after the season. They need to plant it after. They might have to plant, twice a year, or they might not have to do anything. It depends on what happens on site.
Can I ask a question pursuant to
Sure.
the order? So if we don't receive a report, because we just don't receive a report, I'm not saying it's ill intent by anybody, but what does that do to the order?
We could issue an enforcement order. Oh, yeah, we'd probably start with a letter saying we need this
Yeah, where's your-
report or else you're gonna get another enforcement, and then the enforcement would say you're in violation of your rules and conditions. And it would be a cease and desist, and then they wouldn't be able to run the dining hall. So they have a big incentive to submit.
The other thing that
Get
happens,
it out
you
in the air.
can't get a cert. So even if it's like something that nobody submits and then they come back to get a certificate of compliance
We'll give it to them.
way down the road,
Yeah.
they don't include any monitoring reports and we can't find them,
Right,
no COC.
yeah.
So that's not the ideal way. I would like to know the day after it's due,
Yeah.
but
I think 1 month is totally reasonable.
yeah. So I'm looking at them. Pre-season report shall be due by
Maybe.
May 15. The post-season report shall be due by, can we say October 15th? All reports are due annually until a certificate of compliance is issued.
Well, I want this to continue beyond, personally, I want this continued beyond this.
And you make it an ongoing condition, then.
Yeah, we can, if we, yeah,
But then it's compliance, you put it as an ongoing condition. Can you do that?
We can't, but the commission at the time
Yeah.
that issues this.
but if you add in the line that I was about to add, then you can't. It doesn't make any sense.
This is
to
for you.
And I think we also need to, edit 26 a little bit to have a timeline for when planting activities take place, because, how it's written right now, it could just be like, oh yeah, we've documented the beach grass has receded. Our photo reports show that it's receded, but we'll get to it. But they don't have to get to it at any specific time until a certain, and so we need a certain amount of time that I think it needs to be tied to the, like,
the end of the
I
season.
think, like, if the preseason report shows erosion or lack of, not erosion, loss of the area, then the plantings need to be done
Prior to opening.
prior to opening the dining. And then if it shows loss of the area postseason, then the plantings need to be done within a certain amount of time following the report too.
So I would say, if I may thank you, that gives them a month on the front side. So May 15th to June 15th, and then October 15th to November 15th, I think we have just enough of a smidge of growing season left, so
just
a month of, prior and a month before.
Yeah, I mean, you can install beach grass
Keeps them
plug
on
in the
pace.
fall for sure.
Right. Typically, well, in my experience, the plugs themselves are not available in the fall, it's plants,
Got
but
it.
that's not
I
our,
understand.
it's not our worry.
once you get for real cold, you're not getting root growth, and then a storm comes in and they're gone. Not in this area.
I mean, we also can do this in a different way. We can just say that if a reduction in the beach grass area is documented, a plan,
Let's take place within a month.
a plan for the replanting needs to be submitted to the commission and approved, or, I mean, it has to be done, and yeah, no, it's,
Or just they submit a plan and they still might not do it, so.
right, I guess
We
it
need
just,
to have like, why don't we just say that?
maybe not a plan, it just has to be done.
Yeah, it has to be done, I think. If it's
like that.
determined that they're required, then they have 30 days to.
Yeah, I just don't want us to write a condition that's like, oh, one plug of
Yeah.
grass was
Right.
lost, so now you have to every time.
Plan, I get
Plan
it,
one, yeah.
yeah. I know it's a tough.
There's ways to get around this though, but
We do have, I know we're in a public meeting, we do
Yeah.
have Art. We had Valerie with a raised hand. We've
yeah,
got
we'll
Art
get to
with
them in a
raised hand.
second, but I think we can figure this one out, so. First, let's take the monitoring report condition and let's put it in front of let's put it at 26 instead of where 26 is now. It's gonna make more sense. Okay, so I think we could just handle this by saying in 27, if the vegetation starts to retreat from the dining area as documented in a monitoring report. Or no, not even in the last sentence, you could just go up to the first sentence. Or second sentence, where it says, if the vegetation starts to retreat from the dining area. And then after area. If the vegetation starts to retreat from the dining area as documented in a photo monitoring report. It shall be supplemented with American beach grass plugs within 30 days of submission of that report.
That makes sense.
Could say we got a reasonable time.
Yeah, I'd go with, exact number.
To prevent further intrusion to the coastal zone.
Reasonable time.
That means they can submit the report whenever they want. I mean, they can submit the pre-season report in February if they're ready for it. It's just up to them. And if they know that if they documented winter issues and they want to do it early, and then that's totally reasonable how it's written here.
I have one other thought if we're ready for it.
Go ahead.
When we were discussing this, I believe the applicant said they're taking the tables in and out per day.
Okay.
Do we want to make
Memorialize that?
Yeah, we should
memorialize
write, that no tables or chairs are to be stored within any resource areas.
Overnight.
outside of the normal operating hours, or I don't know how to exactly. If we have to put a.
Store it overnight is fine, yeah.
I almost can't say outside of commission jurisdiction because it covers a lot, so I'm gonna say outside of the coastal dune resource area itself. Right, because there's buffer zones through that whole property. They'd have to take them across the street.
Just outside of the coastal dune, I think.
Yeah,
Outside of the coastal dune.
outside of the resource areas.
On a nightly basis.
I think that's fine. Tables and chairs are to be stored outside of the coastal dune on a nightly basis. For some reason, I don't like how it's worded, but it makes sense. Right?
Shall be stored.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioners,
Isn't there somebody in public wants to talk?
Not a public hearing.
yeah,
Oh.
everybody's picking their hands down. We're in a public meeting. If it was a persistent issue, I'm assuming they would have kept their hand raised. So if they raise it again, we'll get to them for clarification, but we don't seek public input at public meetings.
I know, this has been kind of a.
Joe, do you have something to add?
Hearing from.
I do.
Go ahead.
22 and 23 is going to be a headache for the restaurant. When you think about the combinations, permutations that come about. If you had a whole restaurant filled with 2 people, you need 24 tables, but it says you can only have 8. If you have a party of 10 and then you have some other mixture in there, I mean, it's going to take a little work to try to stay within those boundaries. I agree that those are necessary.
That's their job, not ours.
They got other tables in the other spot. They can put those people over there. This is just talking about this. The restaurant, it's a dune.
Yeah. All right,
Not our problem.
any other commissioners? Okay, can you go down to the waiver area, because there's two different waivers here.
Double duty. All right. Waivers are required for this project under 398V6 that all projects shall not result in additional adverse impacts to the resource area. The dining in the dunes tables have been in service since the 1960s, as shown by materials provided by the applicant. Therefore, the dining service in the dune qualifies as a pre-existing use, and the commission grants a waiver under 393H3D. A waiver is also required under 398B2 for the portion of bar that was renovated within the no-build zone. The commission finds that there are no additional adverse impacts to the resource area resulting from the reconfiguration and grants a waiver for the activity under 393H3A.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Conditions? At this point, are we satisfied with proceeding towards a vote?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, is there a motion to approve the order as amended?
Motion to approve the order as amended.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you both. By roll call vote, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Brand,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Opposed?
Joe Plandowski,
Aye.
Seth Engelberg, aye. That carries 4 in the affirmative and 1 opposed. Thank you all.
Thank you all. We really appreciate your time on this.
So there's obviously.
Who's that?
Yeah. No need for the denial because we just issued a approval, so.
Perfect.
Year and change.
Yes.
Yeah, that's about, wow, all right, yes.
So we will move on now to Ripley at 92 Washington Street, to the SC 483927.
Should be.
And we'll get that one on the screen.
All right. Trying not to do jumping jacks right now. All righty. 92 Washington Street. This order permits the proposed removal of existing structures, construction of a new dwelling, garage, and shed at 92 Washington Street Extension within land subject to coastal storm flowage and the buffer zone to a coastal beach and bank. A waiver is required for this project as proposed. No NAGSP. Condition 18, 19, 20 for lighting, 21, no FERT and ag chemicals, 22, native species, no cultivars. 23, let's see if this makes sense. I just wrote it. Permission to tie into the town stormwater treatment system shall be obtained from the Department of Public Works and or the Sewer Department before start of work. This information shall be submitted to staff for review and approval. If permission is not granted, the applicant shall submit an amendment to this order to show how roof runoff will be infiltrated. I'm just gonna make this clear that it's not granted for the tie into town service. And then our waiver, waivers are required to 397B6 and 39010B5 that structural elements shall maintain a 50-foot distance from the coastal beach and bank. The commission finds the project as proposed will not cause additional adverse impacts to the resource area and therefore grants both waivers under 393H3C of the Nantucket Wetlands Regs. If we want to alter that, we can discuss.
Yeah,
That waiver is the long-term that benefit.
I thought it was long-term
Oh.
benefit, not adverse.
Did I mislabel this? I, for some reason, thought we
393H3A is,
the adverse. But which one do we want to apply?
Long-term
Is
net
the-
I
benefit.
think people want to
That's
apply.
what we want. All
I
right.
think that's what people want to
That's what
apply.
they were claiming.
It seemed like a comment was made that you guys weren't sure which waiver you wanted to go with. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
I have an addition for.
That's fine.
This too.
You go ahead. After he.
But I'm not sure the.
I'm listening.
Just our wording to the work occurring on the harbor, like for the construction debris to,
Mhm.
We can do that.
I forget what the wording is, but
I have it.
basically, so the construction debris don't end up in the water and somebody's doing an
But I don't
inspection.
think that first sentence is accurate.
What's that?
They said it's gonna be 41 feet from the coast. Right?
Yeah, 41's less.
41's less than 50, yeah.
Never mind, it's late.
Hey, you convinced me for about
It's 6:04. Oops.
Never mind.
Give me 1 second just to grab the, that's fine. Well, I like to make a mistake here and there, so it's believable. It's me.
It's been a long day.
Getting vacation.
Wow. Why is the old one coming? Almost there. You gotta scroll so much farther now for waivers. All right.
It's not even this right. They have breakaway things. How do they work exactly? Do they literally float away or are they on they attached to the house?
What's that? The breakaway panels?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just piers and then in between the piers is a, you know, a structure that's the water will just go on top right now.
But did those float away or they?
No,
Yeah,
they
they float
float
away.
away.
So they become,
No.
Debris,
In
yeah.
some sections, you just have like vents where it allows the water
Yeah,
through.
recently they've
You know.
been going just towards,
This should be good now.
But now they're going to.
the storm vents.
Yeah,
It's just basically it's basically a shutter.
yeah.
The water
Like a
comes.
hole, basically, that's the water that's in it.
Yeah, it looks like a window shutter.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly, yeah.
Close and then the water comes and presses it open and the water
Okay.
goes through, but I mean, they usually break, those will usually break too.
Right.
And it's a lot of, when
A lot
that
of
amount of
water.
water hits anything, you just, it's got like whatever it is to break.
Yeah,
You
You,
get bigger problems.
yeah, the foundation is probably breaking through, so.
All right, so all that, I believed everybody, but I just wanted to make sure C was the right one, because I'm full of self-doubt now. But I just changed the commission finds the project as proposed will result in a net benefit to the resource areas.
Yeah.
And therefore grants both waivers under 393H3C. We're on net benefit
And then you
now.
wanted to
Yes.
add something, Mike, to that?
Yeah, Will knows what I want to add, just.
Yeah, you wanted the demolition conditions.
Yeah, it is right there.
So what we normally have, we've altered this. We've altered the wind speed before. I think the original, the first time this condition was drafted was for a demolition that was happening next to a pond. So it said no work shall be done if the water line of the pond is within 10 feet. I don't think we're worried about water line. The other condition is relating to wind. During demolition of the existing structure, debris will not be allowed, or debris shall not be allowed to enter the resource areas. This work should occur on a day when wind, I don't know what all these shoulds are about. I stole this from an old permit. I'm not taking credit for that. This work shall occur on a day when wind is less than 10 miles an hour and monitored to ensure that debris is not blowing around. The 10 mile an hour, I'm not.
That's Nantucket sort of.
Yeah, we came up with that a long time ago for,
I mean, I fly in here all the time, it's always 10 miles an hour.
I was actually, to be honest with you, I was thinking more of just like a daily inspection of the,
Yeah, if you wanna go that.
you know. Just.
yeah, but it was like the thing that we did last time, where, a staff member or contract, or whatever it was, shall be, designated
We had
the,
one of these before where we.
yeah, it was last meeting.
Last meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, we had.
Shall be designated the, site inspector.
yeah.
A recent site inspection we did, the site was pretty messy.
And then we said, oh,
Could just
he
float away.
inspects and says, yeah, I'll clean it up, and then doesn't do it, so what do? We did something with that too.
I think they have to send some photographs.
Yeah, okay.
And then we also could add that, prior to demolition, a plan for measures to reduce erosion and sedimentation must be submitted to the commission for approval. It's pretty standard condition that we've done in the past.
Great. And refuse.
Inspection might be a better one.
Yeah, I can change that. We wrote a condition not too long ago about turtle sweeps that I was a huge fan of, so.
I've got a project in St. Augustine, Florida. I'm learning about turtle glass. You have to have a
Oh.
specific glass that
Yeah,
reflects the light so the turtles don't freak out and not go on the beach and do their thing.
you go down there,
Interesting.
Martin,
We're going there in another week, yeah.
This is a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get into Florida for projects. I'm just.
St. Augustine's great.
That's what I thought. He was, that's the guy that owns a house here. I built this house here. He goes, wanna come down there and do it? Sure. And I find out about this turtle glass. Yes, heard of that before.
Invitation. And then missing one.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. Well, I think we said, in addition to that, a plan for. Instead of just best management practices, this, a plan for. Erosion and sedimentation control shall be submitted. A plan documenting these practices shall be submitted
Yeah, I'm just gonna add that.
to the commission for approval prior to construction.
Basically like the silt fence plan.
Yeah,
Whatever else goes along with that.
Yeah, in this area is probably something more substantial than silt fence, but
we want it to the commission or to Will.
So,
Will can do it.
That's me. Capitalizing staff.
Feel special today.
Yes. All right, so. Yeah, the contractor or an employee shall perform daily sweeps, we'll say daily inspections. Of the property for debris and refuse, and any resulting materials shall be disposed of properly at the Nantucket landfill.
okay.
Or just disposed of properly because
Disposed of
there's
properly,
certain stuff
yeah.
that gets trucked off the island.
Properly.
We'll take it to miles too.
Yeah.
I think that's fine there.
And then 25, best management practices shall be used for erosion and sedimentation control to minimize resource area impacts. A plan documenting these measures shall be submitted to commission staff for review. And then I think we've already
We did that, yes.
covered that.
Anything else?
Looks good to me.
Are we ready to vote?
Sure. Yeah. Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you both. By roll call vote. John Schiff,
Aye.
Tim Bray.
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Planowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Linda.
Seth Engelborg, aye, that carries unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to request for delineation or request for determination of applicability. We have one for delineation only. It's Canapash nominee truck at 59 Baxter Road, represented by Art Casparo. Art, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for a coastal dune at the bottom of the bank along Baxter Road. Is a little bit unusual in that we're using the policy 92-2 and the that has to do with the slope of the landform and the intersection of the flood zone. in this area. The bank itself is still fully vegetated and hasn't started to erode. So there's still sort of a, that area that you've got a vegetated dune between the beach and the bank. So by the policy in the flood zone, the landform would be considered a bank and not a coastal bank. And the resource area is a coastal dune. So based upon the topography, the vegetation, and the soils, we flagged that dune boundary and also used the policy to determine that the bank doesn't meet the criteria of a coastal bank.
Thank you, Art.
I expect that will change. That will change, obviously.
Yes, my least favorite policy and the most confusing part of coastal resources, but
So true.
that's what the policy says, so Will, have you been out to the site and do you have a recommendation for us?
Yes, I do. Positive 2A, which would be that the boundary delineations of the resource areas described on the reference plans are confirmed as accurate. Therefore, the resource area boundaries confirmed in this determination are binding as to all decisions rendered pursuant to the Wetlands Protection Act and its regulations regarding such boundaries for as long as this determination is valid.
Okay, commissioners, any questions or comments? The motion to approve and issue the RDA?
So move, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Thank you. By roll call vote. John Schaefer.
Aye.
Ken Breen.
Aye.
Nancy Gurley.
Aye.
Joe Planowski.
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Seth Engelberg, aye. That carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. We have one minor modification. Clinton Savings Bank at 14 through 16 Sheep Pond Road. Not sure who's doing that.
I believe there is supposed to be somebody on for Dawn tonight. Let me look in the list.
I don't really see anybody.
It might be Earl in the attendees.
Earl, are you here for Bracken Engineering?
Yes, I am.
Okay, please introduce yourself for the record and then go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Earl Chartier, Bracken Engineering. So 1416 Sheep Pond, minor modification to reduce the amount of construction that had previously been approved under the 2024 order of conditions. So if you have the plan in front of you, we're showing where the house has been relocated up on cribbing, which is just to the west of number 4, the existing dwelling in the center of the property. We also show where number 16 had existed and was prior shown on the previous plan. That dwelling is intended to be put in the northwest corner of this property, and the septic tank that was used for 16 to be relocated up in near the new location of the dwelling. And then we're showing a force main for the effluent pump to route to the existing septic system that we're hoping to maintain. And that's that delineated line with the FM going across the site in bold. The intent is to still remove the gravel driveway that was down at the southeast portion of the site and loam and seed that area as it was approved under the initial order of conditions. And other than that, I think it's pretty straightforward. If the commission has any questions on that.
Thank you, Earl.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments from commissioners?
No.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minor modification?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
By roll call vote. John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Brand,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Bill Planowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Seth Engelberg, aye. That carries unanimously. We'll move on to certificates of compliance. We have one for Squam Partners LLC 89 Swan Road, SC 48 3674, represented by Art Caspara.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry, my Zoom got jammed up. This was a construction of a cottage and a pool, some landscaping at 89 Squam Road, not out by the water end, but on the west end of the property by the road. The limit of work was respected in the as well as the establishment of the vegetation line. I think you could see by the edge of the lawn there that that meets the this was one of the early ones, I think, with the 50% of the area from the 25 to the 50, and as no disturb. And believe the project was constructed in substantial compliance with the issued order of conditions. We've included spot elevations for the grading, limit of lawn, and all of the hardscaping and structural elements within your jurisdiction for your review.
Thank you, Art. Will, have you been out to the site and do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I have. I'm recommending approval of the COC. I do have continuing conditions.
Read them out for us, please.
For the pool, all related to the pool and lighting. But condition 20 is our, given the topography of the site, pool draining that needs to take place shall be pumped to an upland area or pumped by truck and disposed of properly. 21, pools shall not be chemically treated between November 1st and May 1st. 22, all chemical treatments shall stop 3 weeks prior to any draining or discharging of the pools. 23, the applicant shall provide the contact information for the company maintaining the pools. The pool company shall provide 48-hour notice of any draining to the commission with a plan showing where the pool shall be drained to. 24, all exterior lighting shall be directed away from the resource area and in compliance with 102 of the code of the town of Nantucket.
Okay, Commissioners, any questions or comments? Is there a motion to issue the certificate of compliance with the ongoing conditions that were listed?
So moved.
So move. Second.
Thank you. By roll call vote. John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Brady,
Aye.
Mike Miserly,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Stephen Warguy, that carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Extension requests. Is there intent here to withdraw the extension request?
Yeah, so we just need our procedural. I got in touch with Tony. He was like, thank you.
Yes.
And we just need to motion to withdraw that.
Okay, that's Madigan Land Trust 3 Baltimore Street, SC 48 3614. We need a motion to accept the withdrawal of the extension request.
So
Motion
move,
to,
Mr. Chairman. Second.
We'll take Mike and you for the second. By roll call vote, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Brand,
aye.
Mike Miserly,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Seth Engel, aye, that carries unanimously. Other business, we have 3 sets of minutes from 10/16, 10/23, and 11/6, 2025. Commissioners, any questions or comments related to the minutes? Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll
So
make that
moved.
motion.
We'll take Tim for the motion and you for the second, Joe. By roll call vote. John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Brady,
Aye.
Mike Miserly,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Stephen Warguy, that carries unanimously.
And thanks for the proofreading, Joe. We're
You're
sending
welcome.
Joe minutes and he is spending some extra time proofreading all the minutes and it's appreciated.
Well caught up.
What a guy.
Was caught up.
Okay.
We're in good hands there.
Yeah.
Yep,
I could probably do this after, but food for thought for our meeting schedule. An offer was made to me before the meeting. Basically, we can decide if we want to continue to go back and forth or we can be in the same place all the time, but it'll be here.
No.
So I'm passing that.
No.
I'm passing that along.
No.
We all know Will likes the trailer, but I'm happy in either place.
I like the bride.
This
Yeah.
reminds me of.
Let's talk about the meeting
I
schedule.
like the free.
Can you put the potential meeting schedule on the
Yeah.
screen?
I don't know why we're the stepchildren of the regulatory boards, which all meet in the other building, by the way.
I think we need to push back on that and say we could meet in one location, but it would always be in the public safety facility room.
Well, the Board of Health
Board
is
of
in
Health
there,
is in
so
there.
like, it is, at the end of the day, like, we can either pick this room or we can go back and forth again. It's not coming from me, but
Can we duel them?
I just have to give it to you the way it is, you
But
know?
why can't the Board of Health meet in the trailer? That's where they were for quite a while.
So they typically have more in-person attendance than us, not by a whole lot, but it's,
Well, this room is warmer.
we at least have climate control now.
Okay,
Like,
all right.
But I just want to throw it out there. We have a decision to be made, but I
Can we get the walls painted a better color?
will put my.
Hydrangea blue?
Do you have it in your email by any chance? Because it didn't make it onto my USB drive.
It's in the packet.
I'll go on the,
I mean, I have it in the email somewhere.
let me get it. I never use the actual packet.
I mean, it's gonna take me just as long.
No, I know.
I barely know what I'm doing 2 weeks in advance, so I'm pretty much fine with the schedule as it is.
Babe, I only missed one last year, so I'm pretty good with that.
And the location we can still figure that out and everything, but the dates are the most important part for admin. So I'm still screen sharing, sorry.
Did you find it?
Working.
Okay.
It likes to open up with the abatement advisory committee.
You want me to share my screen?
Yeah, if you can.
Cause there's like something we're gonna have to discuss.
Go for it.
All right. There's your meeting schedule.
Interesting color blocking.
Oh, yeah, I could change that.
Dark mode.
Sorry.
It's good for the eyes.
Sorry, yeah. Is it gonna annoy people or no?
No, it's fine. No, it's fine.
No.
We can zoom a little bit maybe. So here's all the dates. The one thing that didn't get done is adding any dates in for the regulatory updates.
I would just as soon not meet on July 2nd. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah. And I don't think a meeting on July 2nd is a good idea either, but
It's not a national
Down a little
holiday.
bit, go down a little bit so I can see the rest of it.
And the other issue too, guys, I forgot to mention this. There was a possibility of us being in the community room and just taking alternate Thursdays than BOH, but it doesn't work for us because the 21-day clock. There were a bunch of instances where we would be.
I think we need to rework this with 2 regulatory procedural update meetings at minimum and then hold this off to the next
For
meeting.
town admin purposes, can we get these dates squared away and we will add in the regs?
Sure.
Because they want this schedule. It's the end of the
Yeah, they
year.
probably wanted it last meeting, but.
Oh, yeah. Trust me, they did.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. So, but we can always amend this or add meetings later.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody have any significant issues with this?
Other than July 2nd.
I think July 2nd is. I mean,
And so.
he's just fine, but if you don't want to attend that day, you don't have to.
I'm gonna be attending my 50th high school reunion.
I mean, the alternative,
50s, I feel old.
like, if we mess with July 2nd. We would have to move our June meeting.
I mean, 4th of July is the holiday. I get what you're saying, but
It is what it is.
yeah.
Yeah, we're grown-ups, guys.
You got, I mean, just before we,
Don't expect me there.
All right.
I won't.
I'm still sharing my screen, but this was the meeting schedule for this year. We met, I guess we met on July 10th
Yeah.
this year, but I mean, the only alternative is to just, we could change the June meetings around, but that's,
Mhm.
And so I don't have.
We
a
also,
problem with
if we want to throw regs meetings in, it's easy enough too now if we put them, basically the way that we did it last time is where there was a 3-week break, we put it in the in-between week.
July,
Yeah.
I mean, July, July 4th is a Saturday, so
it. I'm in the restroom.
I think if you don't wanna, if you won't be at the July 2nd meeting, we still have enough commissioners to figure it out. Does
Knock
everybody,
yourselves out.
anyone else have any issues?
No,
No.
All right, let's stop the share. Is there a motion to approve the 2026 Conservation Commission meeting schedule?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim and John. By roll call vote, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Brand,
Aye.
Joe Planowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Seth Engelberg, aye. We'll mark Mike down as,
He said it was okay.
okay, mark down as abstain, that carries, which enough votes. We have no monitoring reports tonight.
No.
Committee reports, Craig.
Yeah, briefly, PrAC is we're in the process of putting together a kind of a list of questions and issues for when you ask for, PrAC's advice. And that'll be probably forthcoming next meeting.
Awesome, thank you.
I've heard a bit from Leah about that.
Yeah.
It sounds great.
CPC,
No, we didn't have a quorum last meeting, so we're going on to December, but.
okay,
nothing new. Yeah, there's.
NPDC,
Let me get there.
The owl's got you, it's fine.
Yeah, we had a meeting on Monday. Leah Hill was there, who did a great presentation on a lot of the work that CRAC has done, so which is a lot of people at this table. So it was very informative, and it was highlighted the meeting with the coastal resiliency plans that are upcoming for the next number of years.
thank you.
Leah's been very busy.
Yes,
The last couple of weeks.
She knows her
Yeah,
stuff.
always, but
She does.
Harbor plan,
Still waiting for a response from the state.
okay. And any enforcement actions or potential enforcement actions?
nope,
Alright, that's good.
there's one that could become one in 23 days.
Commissioners' comments?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Go ahead.
I just want to apologize for my, being on the phone last meeting. It was kind of a mess. And
All good.
No apology needed. We've all been in situations that are like that or worse, so.
all right, well,
Your effort was appreciated.
well, okay.
Any other commissioners' comments?
Hey, guys, I've been sitting in the parking lot in Coles in New Jersey, Passaic, New Jersey, on the phone twice now, when my brother and my son cut a swath through Coles. And I've been on these meetings, so your being on the phone doesn't faze me.
What about July 2nd?
All right.
July 2nd phases me.
Other commissioners' comments? Okay, I have two. The first is that after a very long time, we may finally have an updated Wetlands Protection Act that contains actual performance standards for the land subject to coastal zone flowage. The standards were written and approved 18 months ago, and then it sat there doing nothing. And the governor is expected to take this up on her desk and sign it. I would like, well, first of all, anybody who wishes to submit a letter of support individually, you can, there was an email sent out, or forwarded from MACC about how to do that. I would also like the Nantucket Conservation Commission collectively to send a letter indicating our support for these changes. Is everybody, okay with
Agreed.
that?
Yeah, agreed.
Collectively is, or a letter signed by you is.
I'll sign it as the chair, but it will be on behalf of the Nantucket Conservation Commission rather than on behalf of myself as.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's fine. Sounds great.
Thank you.
All right,
Right,
I'll make that motion.
Yeah.
Thank you for the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you by roll call vote. John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Brand,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Pondowski,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Seth Fingerberg, aye. Yeah, well, if you could draft it or just use the draft that MXCC basically provided.
Yeah, they did. Right.
Copy it over and.
Yeah, there's a
Paste.
beautiful form
Really
letter.
good form.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that.
And then I will sign it.
Perfect.
Actually, you did trigger, I had one comment.
Go ahead.
Trigger moment. Are we expecting an update on BPF in November on the whole situation?
Hopefully.
Nothing new, obviously,
Yes,
but
but
the appeal.
do you want to give us an update about the process?
Yeah, I mean, my easiest update is that I believe they are intending to have the NOI and RDA. Are we talking about the road relocation or are we talking?
No, I'm
about-
talking about the appeal process from.
He's talking about the MIPA appeal, the
I have
AEP appeal,
no
and
new
the
information.
Superior Court appeal. The
I-
Superior Court appeal is scheduled for January,
Yeah,
and the state appeals should have been done by now. There's supposed to be a very stringent 45-day timeline.
yeah, but it's not happening
It's
from what
been more than 45 days.
clearly not happening.
So
That's the one I really don't know about. I think that Jeff may have more insight, so I'll pick his brain about that tomorrow, but I feel somewhat confident that his answer might be the same, that we just have no idea what that state appeal.
you can get an update from him or ask him, and if there is an update, send the details to the commission in an email. That'd be great. I do have a comment that's related to Scotland Bluff. Not really related to appeals, but related to the GO2 project. And I know we're in this real murky area where there's a lot going on. There's a permit that was issued by this commission and it's an appeal. There's a old order which is now expired. There's an enforcement order. But the reality is that the geotubes as they sit today are not being really maintained at all or in a way that is sufficient. And we've received quite a bit of documentation of this from various community members. And we should start the consideration of a process of how to deal with that. If we need to create a new enforcement order to allow maintenance while the appeals proceed, if we need to amend enforcement orders we need to do that. And no matter what ends up happening with the new permit, the current geotubes need to be maintained in an appropriate way, or else this whole process is gonna turn out pointless. So
Is this about sand mostly?
yeah, I mean, if you look, we can also have our staff go out to the site and get updated photographs, but there's photographs submitted to us from members of the public showing quite a bit of exposed layers, like 2 or 3 layers exposed out of 4, which is a problem because without the mitigation sand, those systems are functioning as a hard seawall and causing all of the issues that we don't want them to cause, and scour and downdrift erosion and all that fun stuff. And independent of this whole big chaotic murky process of what's gonna happen next, we have an obligation as a commission to ensure that activities, whether they have a valid current permit or not, don't cause impacts to our resource areas. And we may need to go to a new enforcement to allow, or not allow, maybe to compel maintenance. It really depends on how it goes, but if we don't do that, it's gonna cause a lot of impact, so.
So ignore the previous enforcement order though?
No, I mean, there was,
They just didn't do anything.
I was gonna ask if,
go ahead, yeah, go to.
so we did, unless I am imagining this, we did have a friendly enforcement order with them
Yeah,
somewhat recently. I think everything's recently. It was probably 6 months
it
ago.
was back in like January.
Okay, it was a year ago. The days just blend together, but we had a friendly EO with them. I am pretty sure we could amend that, but I will talk to Jeff and Vince about this because it may be cleaner to make this like a specific to the instant, like you're gonna look at it.
Yeah, we
But-
can't do anything tonight anyways.
Yeah, no.
But we need to probably post it as a discussion item
Yeah.
for next agenda and think about ways that we could happen, because it's not in anybody's interest, including the project representatives to help unmitigate it. It's just not in anyone's interest right now. to
And I-
Unmitigated
I
CO2s.
mean, we could, if I may, Mr. Chairman, like, just making the example of, we asked the summer house to come in, we could discuss that way, or we could have staff handle it directly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they would come in, but it's mostly just getting sand coverage back.
Right.
Go ahead, Will.
I was just gonna say it may, if you guys want me to, it may behoove us, if I talk to Vince about this tomorrow and he can communicate with SBPF, because I will say for the last one, there was some communication about that, kind of in order to make sure that it was gonna be smooth and it was gonna work. Nobody has to agree to an enforcement order. But I think it's probably wise to let them talk shop a little bit. Not that it changes what our plan is or anything.
That's fine. I know there's been some lack of legal clarity in the past. Some of their representatives have said that they don't feel like they are legally able to do work on the project because of the order being expired. I'm not sure that's true, but creating an enforcement order would remove that clarity and would allow them to do that work. So, you know, if they're open to doing it anyways, but they just haven't done it because they feel like they don't want to get in trouble for doing it. Then they're just waiting, that's fine. Or if they're not open to doing it, then we're gonna say you have to do it anyway. So have Vince talk to them, that's totally fine. But it needs to get done.
Vince can be pretty persistent.
Yeah, and the reality too is like, this isn't a issue that that's probably gonna go away anytime soon. I mean, even once the state appeals come back, if you don't like if either party or any of the parties don't like what they say, they could be appealed again to a higher body, and then with the state, with the local appeals, you know, it goes to Supreme Court. But then if any party doesn't like what Supreme Court says, it could go to the appellate court, and then it could go to the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court. I mean, it could be in court or appeals for 10 years. So we need and I know there's all these other issues about whether they'll get a license or whether they'll decide to do it. There's all these other issues, but those aren't really relevant here. We need to maintain enforceable way for maintenance of the existing project up until the new project is either built or it doesn't get built. I mean, we just have to do that, so let's have the energy staff discuss and then talk to SVPF and go from there.
Okay.
Other commissioners' comments?
Another good meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Staff reports?
I'm just gonna say thank you, and it is nice to see another long-standing agenda item go. Where I think someday in the next 10 years, we will not have any more pre-January 1st submissions. I know there's only a couple, but I'm given a long span of time. And that's it. Thank you, guys. Great meeting.
Thank you. Thank you as well. And we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
That roll call vote, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Dean Brand,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Pinelski,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
It's that second more guy that carries unanimously. Thank you all. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Seth.
You.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You staying in?
Ready for something.